Well, hey Paul, how you doing? Thanks for joining me today.
Happy to be there, here, anywhere. Hi, Jeff. Hi, BookTube. Hi, people who accidentally clicked on this video and don't know what they're getting into.
Yeah, fair warning, here lie dragons. Which leads me to ask you, I think you used to have your handle had dragons in it, right? What was your original handle and why did you shorten it? Was it just for convenience sake?
No, it's actually because I have another YouTube channel and I
Oh.
was trying to separate them. I have a board gaming channel, but I don't really keep up on it, because I kind of started focusing on the BookTube channel. So I had Book Dragons. I had, it was Geeks Love Dogs, Book Dragons, and Geeks Love Dogs board gaming. And I did it to keep my channel straight, but I don't really need to do that anymore. The channel's just not really uploading.
So board gaming is that what kind of were those like oh what is it? So, I had some friends who did it. They were like something in empires. Oh, I can never recall those different.
Yeah, I mean, I'm into that kind of, I love board gaming. I love it. I do a lot of solo war gaming and stuff, and I have a regular group that I was, role playing with D&D and things like that. So I like, it's something another hobby I have. So
That's cool. Yeah, no, I think I don't know if you watch the Check Your Shelf channel. I believe Paul's quite into D&D, and I'm sure a lot of other guys. Maybe Tim used to do it. I'm not sure if he still does at Secret Fire Books. But well, that's cool. So you have two channels, and that one you've kind of not been keeping up with so much as you've kind of transitioned more to focusing on the BookTube one.
right, and it
Um,
doesn't go back to it and do something every once in a while, but it just takes a lot of effort and time to, for content, and especially as much as I screw up and have to restart. So
well, yeah, I don't even know how you would make a content for a board gaming. Do you do a game and record the play, or are you just talking about aspects of the games, or?
unboxing new games, maybe just teaching how to play. It depends, but yeah, that kind of thing. A lot of showing off parts and components for games, things like that.
Cool. Well, let's just talk then about because I noticed from looking through your backlog of videos that you kind of started this up about 5 months ago. Is that correct?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So you want to talk a little bit about what you got you into reading in the first place, like some kind of key, what's your background as a reader? What kind of key, authors or series or whatever got in how did you get into this kind of genre fiction?
Well, okay, that's a long story, so I'll keep it as short as possible. I actually started. I've loved reading all my life, and I kind of got into it from reading a backs of baseball and football and hockey cards. Then I went to
Really?
Marvel Comics, and Encyclopedia Brown books when I was a kid.
Oh, right. Encyclopedia Brown. That's a gateway drug for a lot of booktubers, it seems like.
And then I immediately jumped into horror. That's all I had access to was what was ever on the spinner racks and grocery stores, and there was a
Mm-hmm.
lot of paperbacks from Helen Stephen King. So that was where it started.
Yeah, it's funny, in the literally liminal Chris and at liminal spaces and Virgil at literally books. They always seem to get on Stephen King, but it's inescapable. It's just a lot of people in the
Yeah.
80s, especially growing up in the 80s and 90s. That's what you were reading, probably at least partially. Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
If it
that's
wasn't,
very cool. Well, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, if it wasn't for Marvel Comics and Stephen King, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, well, other than Stephen King, what were some of the other key like fantasy works or science fiction or crime or any of those that got you into those genres?
Well, originally, I came from a place where I wasn't really allowed to read a lot, and I had no real knowledge of what was out there as far as books. I kind of like had to keep my reading secret from my biological units. It wasn't a
Oh,
little, it was frowned upon. So I,
reading was frowned upon. Wow.
yeah,
I'm
they,
sorry to hear that. Hmm.
yeah, they, unless it was the Bible, I really wasn't supposed to be reading.
I
So
got you.
I kind of kept everything, secret. I didn't find fantasy and sci-fi until like Star Wars, and I didn't know much beyond like Star Wars. That I found a copy of a Conan movie adaptation. So it
Ah,
was
right.
Star Wars and Conan were my first experiences into fantasy and sci-fi. Star Wars is really sci-fantasy, but um, and that was where it kind of started. I hadn't even heard of like Lord of the Rings until I was like 20 or something, and when I started meeting friends, and then it was really cyberpunk that got me into deeper in the science fiction. So
Wow, that's interesting. I my parents also flirted briefly with some religious stuff, but they were never censorious on what I was reading, luckily. But I do know that the religion itself frowned on fantasy and anything to do with, you know, magic and horror and all that stuff. But luckily, when I was very young, my grandmother was a huge reader, and so my mom was a single mom for a while, and so I stayed with my grandma a lot, and she read to me, and eventually I read to her. So yeah, since I like you, I've been reading since I can remember. Sorry, I keep bumping the
yeah, it was my
stupid desk.
grandparents. It was my grandparents who snuck me the books. My grandfather on one side who would buy me the Marvel comics when we went out. My grandma on the other side would buy my spinner rack books. And my actual first experience was pulling a hardcover of Red Dragon off the shelf at like
Wow.
it's like 1981. I was like, I don't remember how old I was then, but I was pretty young, and I pulled that off the shelf and started reading it, and that was my first like real introduction into adult books.
That's
Red
pretty hardcore introduction.
And I was pretty much hooked from then on. Yeah, but it was.
Well, I'm curious how you were how did you manage to smuggle those comic books in? Did you just leave them at your grandparents and read them there, or how did you sneak them?
We lived next door to my grandfather, so it was I kind of would hide them and be able to sneak them in when I saw him, and I'd stick them under my bed or whatever and hide them best I could.
Wow. Well, so which of these genres was it horror that was your first love? Kind of was that the one that kind of was the beginning point for you?
I was obsessed with horror when I was a kid. I mean, I was the one who would have all his friends over and we'd watch horror movies and they'd be under the blankets and I'd be like, "There, let's go, Jason," kind of thing. I was horror, and but Star Wars had a huge effect. It wasn't just Star Wars. It was Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, Space 1999. I loved those, and I wanted more. And then, like I said, I found Conan, through the movies, through Arnold in the movies, and wanted more. And I kept feeding into that and wanting to learn more and more and read more and more. And I've been voracious, because I was held off from reading for so long that I felt I had to catch up on so much.
Yeah. Well, you've done a good job catching up, man. Well, were you able to watch much stuff? Was that also pretty curtailed in your home?
It
Like
was.
I'm thinking of stuff like Thundar the Barbarian was a huge inspiration for me. I watched. I remember the summer I watched Thundar the Barbarian, and I caught in the theater as like an 11 or 12-year old. I know. I guess I would have been 13 or something. But the Indiana Jones, the Raiders of the Lost Ark, the first one,
Oh
and it
yeah,
just
absolutely.
blew my mind, man. I was like, so,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, absolutely, absolutely love that stuff. But I remember I grew up in the '80s. So did you, right? So
yeah, yeah.
we were the raised on TV generation, but we didn't have much available to us. So I caught what I could, but basically we got sat down in front of the TV and watched what was there, and it was because it was on air, it was safe, and nobody thought anything of it. So and then I'd sneak off to the movies when I could with my friends, and
Well, that's the nice thing about the time we grew up because there were all these local stations. I'm sure I've heard of several in New York that would run old movies and old TV shows, right? And to me, it was just new content. I didn't think of it as old stuff so much. And so I was watching, The Rifleman and Bonanza and Wild Wild West while I was watching Magnum PI. And, at the same time, I was watching Magnum PI and Simon and A Team and all this stuff. So it was a great time to grow up in a lot of ways. But
oh yeah, for me it was SWAT and Emergency and Mission Impossible. Those things would air like when I got home from school, and I'd be able to catch those. So
for some reason in the area where I was growing up, there were Mission Impossible was never rerun. There were some shows that just didn't seem to, or I just never caught them. But there were a lot of other things similarly. I got get home from school and watch, Wild Wild West and watch Perry Mason in the summer at 1 p.m. and things like that. So all that stuff fueled my love of older stuff. So I never really cared if something was not new or current, right? So
Yeah, I was close with my grandfather. Like I said, he lived next door. I mean, by next door, I mean in the same building. He owned the building we lived in, so I just walked across the hall and would go see him. And he taught me to love all that stuff. So I'm still have a passion for these old movies and these old TV shows that people, even my age, didn't have, and certainly the next generation didn't. And there's so much that they're missing. And I get, that feeling like, oh, that old stuff, but man, I can sit down and watch some of that and still love it. It's just there's just
well,
something
it's good
about it.
storytelling, right? Yeah, and not that there isn't good stuff made today, but and I do like some stuff made today, but I tend to gravitate to the older stuff more. And some of it is getting older, but a lot of it's not nostalgia. Like a lot of these shows, like I never saw Rawhide growing up, and I watch a Rawhide episode now and think this is great. So I just think it's entertainment. It's the same with books, right? There are a lot of good books being written now, I'm sure, but I have so many old books to get to. I don't know. I don't have much time for new stuff. So
Well, yeah, there is, and that's one of the things I'm trying to focus on is there's so many good writers who are getting dismissed by the traditional publishing industry right now in favor of the carbon copy romantasy
romanticy.
and I'm one of the missions of my channel is to find these authors who are being dismissed but still writing good fun stuff and put it out there, independent authors and stuff, people who are writing current pulp,
Right,
and that's what I'm going to go forward and focus a lot on the channel. That was my ink and ammo segment,
right,
is
right.
putting that out there, and I'm going to continue on that, and I'm furthering that idea, going forward. As my channel's growing, I have more stuff coming up along that line.
Well, I think that's great because there's a lot of people out there that are trying that love the same stuff that we read, the older stuff, and they're trying to do their new version of it, and that's great. I think, and like you say, there's just no in for them in the traditional publishing world anymore.
And I want to help.
Luckily, with Amazon publishing and some other avenues, they have some possibility, but it's hard to get the word out, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah, and I really want to help with that. Is there's I'm just so sick of seeing the same published, the same authors getting pushed in the same books over and over, and a lot of these are just basically making the same book over and over and over because it's what sells. So publishing is a lot like the music industry. They don't create, they chase. So when
Right.
something works, they want to copy it and keep chasing the same idea over and over again instead of innovating. and
Mm.
and really shouldn't be that way. And it takes people like us. I mean, booktubers don't understand the amount of influence they have sometimes, I think, and publishing industry and authors sometimes should pay more attention. Booktuber, I have bought more books because of booktuber recommendations than I have every other source combined.
Mm.
So I want to be one of the people who can put stuff out there that is not being recognized. I don't want to be selling the same stuff to people that every other, fantasy booktuber and, every other traditional booktuber is doing, or TikToker. I want to find stuff that's less known and independent and say, hey, here's an option. This is good. You might like this. Try something different.
Well, I think you're doing a great job at that. I mean, I'm not the world's hugest comic book reader, but I do like them. The main thing, I guess, I never got into them was the cost of having to buy issues every month. But the graphic novel format I really like. And the recent video you did of the kind of the Eastern Front
Yeah.
comic series, they all sounded great, and I had never ever heard of these. I've heard of Garth Ennis, but so I'm going to be looking into some of those thanks to your video. So I think what you're doing is you're doing the Lord's work there, man. So you know, getting the word out, because there is, we focus a lot on older books in this corner of BookTube, and I think that's great. But I think yeah, it's doing a service to look into the people. Guys like I know Tim Secret Fire Books have talked about Eric Wade's stuff, and I know the guys on Eves talked about Levi's book, and so I think that's great. Not only other booktubers and such, but people who are out there trying to write similar cool stuff should be spotlighted.
Yeah, I want to combine them so that people who like come in and want to check out some of the older stuff I'm reading will say, "Hey, look, newer stuff that's similar." So I'm trying to combine them into the best of both worlds and create a that kind of channel. And I have a bunch of horror stuff coming up that I'm going to do too. So it'll be action, adventure, horror, sci-fi. I'm trying to genre my channel, make it
All kind of
available.
like kind of make categories on the channel there. Well, I
Exactly
think
what.
yeah, I think your plans sound really cool. I think that it's good too that I think there might be a tendency, and I'm sure I fall into this, of dismissing everything new as maybe in the same category as the crap you see in Barnes and Noble and in the fantasy section and stuff. Not that there's probably is some good stuff in there, but oh, it's new, so it's good to be reminded that there's good new stuff out there too.
Yep, that's exactly what I want to do because there is, and I'm seeing this stuff from these authors that have no following, that have, they're living off the seat of their pants basically, who are writing fantastic stuff, but I can't find it. You can't find it in Barnes and Noble. It's not there. And I'm finding it, and I want to spotlight it because there's some good stuff. There is really some good authors. There's some authors out there creating pulp now,
Right.
literal work now, and it's like this stuff's pretty good, and I want to show that stuff isn't dead.
Yeah. I think that's a noble cause for sure. Definitely. I want to get into some of your favorite authors, not only from when you were growing up, but now. So, especially maybe if you want to talk about some you think are underappreciated, or a series, or an author that you think, or several authors that you think you would rank highly and maybe aren't getting as much attention as you'd like.
Oh yeah, I'm still discovering a lot of that myself. So haven't come up with a list of authors yet because I'm like experimenting. I'm sampling a little bit from everybody.
Right.
So
Well, who are
I'm
some people that you haven't that you think are kind of holes in your reading that you're trying to catch up on?
yeah, there's a lot. I mean, every day I'm discovering new stuff. Like watching Nick did a video and he was talking about um, the Clifford Ball, and it's like I have that book somewhere and I've never read it. I want to check it out. I want to, it's something I want to read.
You have that book? Wow, of the guy that wrote was it the Rald story or
Yeah,
whatever it was? The two Rald
I
stories?
there's a collection. You can buy it off Amazon. I went and double checked this, after he was watching his video. It's still there, and you can go find that collection. And I have it. I bought it like a few years ago. So I'm like still playing catch up. And I spent so many years up, and this is kind of new for me. I was for years chasing that whole fantasy thing, that everybody else was writing. And what happened is I got burned out on it, and I'm kind of going back to my roots. So
Yeah.
I'm rediscovering things that I didn't before. For me, I mean, I love, like I said, I love Stephen King. I love old Stephen King. I grew up on that. One of my favorite books is Christine, The Keep by F. Paul Wilson. This was, stuff I grew up on. Ray Bradbury, things like that. And so I'm along with my channel, I'm discovering these new authors and want to present them as I discover them.
Hmm.
I have yet to, form a full opinion on who's the best and who's not, but I know
Sure.
what I'm liking and what I don't, and want to put it out there. And that's what my channel is a mutual discovery, and I'm sharing it. I want to share it with the community.
Well,
That
that's fun. Yeah. Sharing that love. Well, I think also, like you say, you go back and revisit some of these favorites from your youth, and then you find, oh, but I didn't at that time. I didn't know there was this guy and this guy and this guy doing the same thing, right? Like this Clifford Ball guy, I never heard of. I've studied and read about weird tales and the similar authors, like a lot of the ones Nick will mention. And when he goes through that, weird tales issue, I'm like, yeah, I know her, I know him, I know him. Who's that, right? And so,
yeah,
and everyone's raving about this guy's stories, so that's cool. It's just cool to constantly, you're never gonna learn it all. You're always gonna have something to discover, and that's fun, right? That's not something to wail about. That's like there's still great stuff out there I don't know about. So
yeah. That's what I was saying. That I'm still figuring it all out, and because basically when I decided to do this, because I was finding stuff that I loved that I didn't know was there. I'm like I said, I wanted to do it as a mutual discovery. I find it, and want to share it with whoever's watching. It's like, hey, look, I found this and I'm excited about it. And I find that when I discover it along with you and share it, I'm much more amped up to talk about it. I'm much more excited to share it
Mm.
because your mutual discovery. It's like, look, I found this. You check it out too. So I'm
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of that way.
You're sharing your new discovery, right? I think that's that authenticity of that, and also the enthusiasm of that is contagious. So I think that's what makes this kind of corner of BookTube so fun, I think. And I guess, um, stuff like Edgar Rice Burroughs and The Shadow and Robert E. Howard and Doc Savage and all these things I grew up loving, and I still would read occasionally. But I was watching, I've been getting into more YouTube. I used to kind of poo-poo YouTube several years ago. It was just cat videos and this and that. But finding more and more really well-made professional stuff and interesting stuff, and came across some channels like Criminali, and but of course because he would review some of the what he called the kind of the not garbage but trash or whatever fiction, which I don't really like that label per se, but stuff that I would, someone's actually talking about, read a Doc Savage, read an Executioner, read a Able Team, wow, so. And then of course Michael K. Vaughan was talking very eloquently about this stuff, and it kind of reignited my love for these again.
Yes.
And then I saw some, yeah, sorry, I just want to say I saw some other channels like of course Jake and Nick and Tim and Brian and a bunch of other guys, and like there's people that talk about this stuff. I can do this too. I know about some of this stuff. I like this stuff too. I like the sense of the community that I see here. So why not give it a try?
That's
So
exactly was my journey. As I was, like I said, I was doing the whole fantasy thing, and I got burned out. And I slowly discovered Michael K. Vaughan and Criminality first, and as I started noticing that that's some of the stuff I know. I like that stuff. Why am I not reading more of that? And
right.
then I found, then I found Nick on Book Graveyard and Bad Taste Books and Pulp Mortem, and I'm like, no, this is where I want to be. And and I started to actually talking to them, and I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for guys like that. So, they kind of like, they're great. They reached out, and I want to be able to do the same. I want to find people who want to do this and have a similar interest and be able to help them. It's this what
Yeah.
this BookTube is about.
Right. No, yeah, I've also felt that support from them. I mean, I don't know if I told this story online before, but Nick and Jake and Tim and some Brian, those guys just jumped right in to support my channel when I started up, and some others like you know um, Ira from SF Words of Wonder and all that. And then one day, I don't know, I did this, I guess, one of my first monthly wrap up videos, and I had read some. I think I had read a Doc Savage and a Tarzan novel and a Louis L'Amour Western and a pretty good variety. And Michael K. Vaughan found it and shared it on his channel, and I gained like 120 subscribers in a day. So it's like, which is really nice of him to do. Those guys, all those guys didn't have to do that. But they got behind me and shared showed some love, and that really helped me out, and I really appreciate it. So like you, I'd like to kind of do the same, even though I don't have much reach yet. But whatever I can. And of course a lot of us are reading the same people, but are listening to the same people, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
But
I love Michael K. Vaughan and Criminality too. I mean, yeah, that like I said, they kind of like were started my transition from that mainstream fantasy stuff into this stuff that it's like I remember that I love the stuff that my grandfather
right.
introduced me to and the stuff I saw on the shelves when I was a kid. So that was where my transition started, where it's like started wanting to explore the other
Mm.
side that isn't fantasy tube and isn't these big slick guys who have 100,000 plus subscribers who are you don't have access to. I tried and they just have no interest. One of the biggest fantasy tubers in the world literally lives down the street from where I work, and he has no interest in me whatsoever.
I
I
don't know
tried.
any of these guys. I know that sometimes Pope Mortem makes Jake makes fun of them, but I don't really, and Tim, I don't really know who they are so much. But Criminali is pretty big, and he took the time to comment on one of my videos. So guys like him and Michael K. Vaughan are just good guys. So they're more mensch type people, which is they're not too big for their britches. They respond to videos. Michael K. Vaughan might be too, he's really busy, obviously, with his work schedule. He always takes the time to heart people's comments at the very least, right? So, like some of these, from what I've heard, these big booktubers you're talking about, and again, on YouTube scale, it's probably not that big, but in our neck of the woods, it's big. They don't seem to ever respond to anybody. It's like the
Right.
people are just watching and never respond. And I think you think you're too big for your britches, then I don't want to spend time listening to you.
Yeah, I did find Michael K. Vaughan, and I keep wanting to call him Brian Vaughan for some reason. And I did find him in Criminality back when they were well under 1,000 subscribers.
Wow, you've been watching that long. Wow.
Yeah, I am obsessed with YouTube and BookTube. I don't watch TV anymore. I watch sports, and I even watch my news now on YouTube. Other than that, I like go to sleep. I'll have Futurama or Big Bang Theory on in the background, just to go to sleep to. But other than that, all I really watch is YouTube. I will watch. If you're a booktuber and you got something to say, I'm there for it. I will gladly come down and see what you got, and I love it. I absolutely love it.
Well, ever since I've started, especially, I've watched a lot more. It's my problem now is trying to fit it all in when at least on my work time. Luckily, I'm coming up on my summer vacation from school, from teaching, so I'll be able to catch up with more. But I try to catch, my favorites as much as possible. But
Yeah, I watch.
and there's another group that I like that too, but they're more in the literary realm, and but they will sometimes dabble in the someone like Steve Donahue will happily talk about a Tarzan novel and then talk about some esoteric Romanian history book or something. So I'm in awe of his reading, but
I watch Steve, and my wife comes in while I'm watching him and just looks at me like, "Why are you? Why?" I'm like, you know what? This guy has quirks. He's brilliant. I mean, and he really does know his stuff.
mm,
Um,
you can tell
all,
he's not faking it, right? Yeah.
I've noticed a lot of his opinions I actually agree with. And yeah, so I have the chops to be able to not be able to keep up with him because he's forgotten more about books than I'll ever know. But to understand where he's coming from, because
Mm.
I see across almost every genre. I love history and nonfiction, historical fiction. I read poetry. I read pretty much everything unless it has romance in the title or supernatural. Yeah, pretty much everything. So you never know on my channel. I might someday like do a review of we never know. I never know. I never know until I do it.
I think that's one of the things that someone like Jake I know he reads widely, but his channel focuses on pulp sci-fi. Uh, and I guess Tim reads pretty widely too, but he focuses a lot on fantasy. So someone like that jumps between a lot of genres, maybe it's hurting our growth a bit, I suppose, because we're not finding a niche. But I don't care. I mean, you have much read wider than me. I've read poetry a fair amount in the past, and when I was going to school, but into university. But uh, I don't read much of it now. I should probably read more, and I certainly need to read more classics. But I
Yeah, I
like
doubt.
nonfiction and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I doubt I'll review poetry or anything on the channel, but I do, read it on occasion for fun. Especially, I'm a big fan of Poe, so his poetry, of course. But I'm not going to review a lot of that on the channel. But yeah, because I am kind of across genre because I read sci-fi, horror, fantasy a little bit, still, nonfiction, action, adventure. Yeah, I am going to probably hurt my channel, but if I focused on just one thing
You
because of
get bored.
I'd get bored and I wouldn't be happy. So I
And
gotta.
also, like you said, you want to share what you think are the cream of the crop of those other formats or genres too, right? Like, I don't get as many views when I do, golden age detection or mystery stuff so much. Some of it does pretty well, but because it's a different audience, I guess. But um, I don't care. That's one of my favorite things to read. So
Right.
I'm just doing this for fun. I'm not, expecting to be big, or I have no plans to be big. I'll never be big. I'm not worried about that. But I enjoy seeing more people come in and spreading the community and stuff. But
Yeah.
I'm just doing this for fun, frankly, and I think if I can focus on that, it'll help keep me grounded, I guess. So, and
Yeah,
why I'm here, you know. So
I'm doing it because I love books and I want a community of people I can talk to, and I keep meeting fantastic people. I'm amazed. I mean, the ones I mentioned, like Book Graveyard and Pulp Mortem and Bad Taste Books and Secret Fire Books, and but then I keep meeting people like Infinite Andrea from Infinite Text and
right.
Virgil from
Ooh, a girl.
yeah, more girls come on to our
Yeah,
space.
yeah, more girls come in.
Yeah. Virgil from Literally Books and Chris from Liminal Space.
Chris.
Yeah, I keep meeting these fantastic people, and I mean, this is what's bringing me joy right now. I've been going through. It's been a tough few years, and I'm going through some stuff still, and this is keeping me sane and keeping me happy. And these people are, they're why I'm here. I love them, and some of the people in my comments that are subscribing to me now, they are just awesome. They are just fantastic, and I love them to death. I mean, I'm here for it.
Yeah, same here. I've got some people that comment regularly, and there's not a huge number of them, but they're consistent, right?
Yeah,
Guys like Stephen Everett. There's a guy from Australia named oh, what is his handle?
movie
Something like
snapper.
a movie snapper. Yeah, and there's a bunch of these guys that are just great. Yeah, and I'm glad movie snapper's doing some stuff of his own now too. Some of them are coming out with their own stuff. So Peculiar Notions, and of course Steve at Heroic Book Adventures, great
Yeah,
guy, and he's doing really good stuff. What's
send them
that?
on. Send them on over to me too.
Well,
Yeah,
I think I'm surprised Steve hasn't. I'm not. I would have thought he would have been on your channel, but maybe this one will. He'll definitely subscribe to you after this if he hasn't already. But he's the guy that's out in the woods recording.
okay.
Um, yeah, with the tats. He's a super nice guy. Yeah, he just reviewed Lord of the Flies, I think, just recently. So, but yeah, like you say, we're discovering so many of these people and broadening that kind of community is very cool. Whether it's a booktuber or just someone who likes to watch. So the viewers are extremely important too. So,
And of course,
and
the outlaw Levi Wallace, of course, who likes to come into the channel and bust on you a little bit, which is great.
yeah, yeah, no, yeah, you could tell it's with love, So it's not he wouldn't do it if he didn't like your channel, So and his channel is fun too, with his crazy aesthetic that he has there with the the VHS aesthetic that he does on his channel is pretty interesting. He needs to post more though. But yeah, so the most of the people I have not encountered anyone particularly nasty at all yet. I'm sure I will get some of those comments eventually. I know some of the bigger guys like Jake and Tim and Nick have, but and we'll get there eventually, getting some trolls, I'm sure. But for the most part, I'm really impressed with the kind of people that come out and to comment and watch, and they seem like a great group. So
Yeah, definitely.
I wanted to talk a little bit about you mentioned Marvel Comics.
Yeah.
Do you still collect comics now, or are you mostly just graphic novel collector? I've heard a lot of people talk about the state of comics these days not being, I know Steve Donahue constantly decries it as well as Michael K. Vaughan, a little less pointedly. But do you
Yeah,
mostly just collect the older stuff?
yeah, they're not wrong. The older stuff is definitely better, and I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, old stuff is great, new stuff sucks, because I love new stuff too. But it is problematic where the industry has gone. So I do like reread a lot of the old stuff. I have a subscription to like Marvel Unlimited, so I do check in on there every once in a while, and
Mm.
depends on the series. But it's graphic novels, and it's not just Marvel. There's a bunch of other things I like. I'm a huge fan of Usagi Yojimbo by Stan
Mm.
Sakai.
Yeah, Sagi Yojimbo for sure. Yeah,
I,
I remember those.
yeah, I have every volume of that. I want
Did
to
you ever
actually.
read Cerebus? Did you ever read Cerebus?
I did read Cerebus at one point a long time ago. It Grew and Bone, and yeah, I've read all
True,
those
right? Yeah. I've been
Hellboys.
to
I love
Hellboy. I love Mignola stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. But who puts out the Garth Ennis books you were talking about? That's
Dynamite,
not one
but
Dynamite one.
but their Dynamite's closing. I'm pretty sure I heard.
Um,
Um, you can find his stuff. Garth Ennis and Brian K. Vaughan. Brian K. Vaughan. That's why I keep getting Stephen
oh, no
Michael
wonder. Yeah,
Brian.
there's a Brian K. Vaughan, no relation, I'm assuming.
Um, yeah, I love their stuff. There's some other author, and I forget names. I'm getting old, and I've had a lot of concussions, so forgive me if I get a name wrong. But yeah, but there's a lot of I want to do like my top non superhero uh, graphic novels at some point as a video. So I'm hoping to put that out there. And I don't do a lot of stuff about manga or graphic novels and comics, but I like to throw it in every once in a while. It just is something different. So it isn't like going to be main thing on my channel. I do mention them in passing, but that's the thing is a lot of what the comic industry's dropped, manga actually picked up.
Oh yeah,
And a
for
lot of
sure.
people don't get that because they dismiss it because of reputation, and a lot of it's ridiculous and stupid. But there is some good stuff out there, and
Do you
you know,
see these my wife's collection of I bought her for of Demon Slayer,
oh, okay, yeah, my son's a big fan.
Kimetsu no Yaiba, Demon
Yep,
Slayer ones. Yeah. And
my son's a big fan.
what's the other one that she loves? Gintama.
Oh yeah, I know Gintama too.
Yeah.
I don't read
So
them,
no,
but I
there's
know.
some great stuff being put out there, and here in Japan, there is no stigma about comics. They cover all ages, generations, genders,
Yeah,
uh, orientations, anything like that. So anyone can read them without it, being teased by. I think that's changed in America now too. I know that's one good thing about going into a Barnes and Noble now is you can see a huge couple of whole racks of
yeah.
English translated manga, which is cool. That's good to see.
There is still a stigma against it though amongst a lot of older readers, and you kind of got to
Just from
respect
the
that.
sexual kink stuff, you mean, or
No, no,
because there's
no.
some. I remember seeing was it Underlord or there was something with it had like raping tentacle rape scenes and stuff, and I was like, what the hell is this crap? But
Yeah,
I
I
thought
try to.
maybe there's some. That was part of what you're talking about. Are you talking about just kiddie books or people thinking they're for kids?
There's still a stigma against manga as a whole, and even graphic novels by some readers. And it's how they grew up, and they were, it is what it is, and you kind of got to respect that. 'Cause you're never going to change their mind; they're going to have to change it for themselves to get interested. But it's not something I do on my channel. As a rule, with the Eastern Front story, the video I did on the Eastern Front fiction and nonfiction, that was a little different because I did a whole,
Yeah,
set.
variety of different kind of stuff, right? Yeah.
And and this was different. And I thought, even people who didn't like graphic novels could appreciate the work that he was putting in because his stuff's really accurate, historically accurate, and is a lot of there's a lot of truth and real stories that are happening inside his graphic work. So I thought, maybe that would be a little bit something I could put out there and not have to worry about.
Well, I found it fascinating. I never heard of these. What was it? The what witches? What did they call them? The
Night Witches.
night witches. These that the real story behind that was fascinating. That was
Yeah,
just
it's a true story, and the Germans named them Night Witches because of they got terrified of these women pilots because they were doing things that were just unheard of. I mean, literally just turning off their engines and dive
yes,
bombing.
swooping in on them and dropping bombs. Yeah,
And,
and probably many of them you didn't say clearly, I think, but you implied that many of them did not necessarily get back airborne again after that, right? So
well, yeah, it
I'm
wasn't
sure.
dangerous, but amazingly, more of them did than you'd think. That was actually a
Really?
rare occurrence when it didn't work. So
Wow. Because like putting your plane into a stall to dive low and then start it again, after you dropped your bomb, that's pretty risky back then. And these old rickety crop dusting crates and things they were flying. Anyway, that was a fascinating video. And you didn't just cover the manga, of course, or the graphic novels. You talked about, a nonfiction book, and you talked about some fiction
short
stuff
story.
too. So, yeah, yeah, short story. So I think that was really interesting. So I don't know. I think because guys like Nick who does cover a variety of genres. His channel's doing well. It's quite healthy. So I think Michael K. Vaughan covers several different genres. So it's doable for sure. But it is, I think, perhaps a slower climb and growth of without simple focus of one thing. So.
I'm,
But
I'm
again,
hoping I'm hoping my personality just carries it, and it takes over what my.
I think it
So
will.
I
Well, it's
hope
nice
so.
to see you. That's another thing I want to talk about is I know you've talked a little bit on your very honestly and candidly and refreshingly on your channel about your struggle to come out in front of the camera. But the life of your channel, I think, is pretty fast. You came out after I think you started about 2 months ago, 3 months ago. Started
There wasn't
doing
much of a month. Wasn't It was a
camera
little over.
facing.
Yeah, and I did it. My first video where I put myself on while I had the flu, and was
Oh,
looked at horrible. And I thought, if you go back and look at this, you can see I'm just a disaster. And I thought if I can get myself to go on video when I look my absolute worst and I'm at my worst shape, yeah, it was a challenge for myself. I was going to make my debut when I looked like death. Yeah, I was just about 102.5 fever still at that
oh
point,
wow.
and
Well, I couldn't tell you were sick, so I just thought you were a little low key because you were just uncomfortable at first. But it didn't seem like you were particularly uncomfortable either. But you've definitely gotten looser and more of your humor and kind of dry cutting, self-deprecating humor is coming out more and more. And
yeah, and
your little thing about mentioning all the sponsorships that should be coming your way and stuff like that. I think that's cool. Your personality's coming out, and that as you get more comfortable, because it is a weird thing talking to a camera by yourself, right? At first.
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it's just going to get worse because I mean, I am an insufferable pain in the ass. I'm a smart ass. I am sarcastic, brutally sarcastic, and more and more of that's coming out. And it's
Yes, he is.
my wife's like,
Hello.
so you're going to see me getting more and more, you know, like that. You're going to see more and more of me come out. And like when I did that PSA video, you saw, me being me. And I wasn't actually drunk in it, even though at the time, even though I looked like I was.
No,
Um,
I didn't think you were. No.
I had a large glass of adult beverage there, but yeah, so that's who I am, and if I could get that me out in front of the camera, God, I feel sorry for everyone.
Well, it's probably not as bad as you predict, but I think that's cool though, because it's good to see you get more comfortable and confident on camera. I thought you were pretty good at the get-go, but and yeah, I think that's really cool. Well, we talked kind of about your philosophy of doing this channel, but how about some nuts and bolts? What kind of equipment do you use, and how do you go about you don't have to get away any trade secrets or anything, but how do you go about kind of formulating your plans for what videos to make? You're introducing new upcoming ideas as you go, but have you had these things percolating for a while, like before you started your channel? I'd like to do this, I'd like to do that, or they've been just coming to you as you go, that kind of thing?
All right, so as far as my equipment, I have an Android phone,
Me
and that's
too.
that's it. I have a stand, an Android phone, and I use was it ClipCut or whatever it's called to edit. I just
I'm using
transfer.
CapCut. Is that the one you're talking about? CapCut?
Sorry, sorry. This is what I mean when I'm on
No, it's
camera.
all
So
right. There's like 75 different ones, and I'm sure there's one that's clip something. So
there's ClipChamp. Yeah. So yeah, so that's all I have, and that's what I started with, and what I'm continuing with currently. And I'd like to do better, but at the moment, it's not feasible. So it's just a phone. I'm sitting here with nothing but a phone every video, and I
I
upload
think
them.
it's fine, man. Yeah, it's yeah, I think the typical phone now has such a great camera. My webcam on my computer now sucks compared to my phone, right? So,
And
but
as
as far
far as
as your planning your videos out or ideas, how do they come to you, these kind of ideas?
uh, boy, that's a good question. So I had tried to do this like about a year and a half ago. Made this long intro and stuff, and stood up and filmed something, and then immediately deleted it and walked away. And I went and started my business, and that's why I started the YouTube channel originally, because I was going to try and promote a business I was starting. And I wanted to do BookTube, but I didn't want to be on camera. I didn't think I could do them both. So it kind of was a slow progression to get where I wanted. And that's why I'm so far behind. Because when I originally started this channel, it was random nonsense. So the algorithm never picked it up, because I have so many videos that were a mix of board gaming and box openings and AI slop and nonsense. So it's taken me a while to catch back up once I decided, you know what, I can do the BookTube. I want to live the dream that I wanted to do this and just make it happen. But now I'm behind and trying to catch up. So, I'm just putting forth the effort and seeing what happens. And as far as the ideas go, I just whatever comes to mind, and I throw it against the wall and see what works and what doesn't.
Well,
That's
I
it.
think the fact that you have so many genres gives you unlimited potential ideas, I'm sure. But and like you say, also the whole idea behind the ink and ammo to kind of put focus on these new writers and such. I did want to ask you because I can, for the life of me, been able to figure it out. When you do you're showing your books and book calls and things. How do you set your camera so you can
Oh,
use your hands and show the books? Because I have a hard time getting the angle right, and then I'm like knocking the stupid tripod and shit. So I was wondering any advice you have for that, because you're old hand at that kind of thing, I think. So
that's how I started. Yeah. So actually, all it is it's a tripod that doesn't stand up. It clamps to the table and just bends over. So I just put it like this, just bend it over and face it down and put the camera in top and just, and it holds it in place
you mean
like that.
it's like a desk lamp sort of thing,
Yep,
kind of?
exactly. We got it
I'll
off
have to look
Amazon.
for one of those. Okay. Mine
Yeah, I just
has the tripod on the little, but it has to sit on something with this little, little base or feet or whatever. But I didn't see those clip-on ones. That's a great idea. I'll look into
yeah,
that.
that's all it is.
Dang
It's
it.
just a tripod that clips onto the table and the camera fits in it and it just bends over so until you can face it straight down. And that's all I do. I just face it straight down and
Straight down
film.
with you over the top of it,
Yep,
like that. Okay.
that's it.
Well, well, thanks for that tip. I'm going to look into that because I've been trying to do that and getting things turned upside down and knocking things on. Like I did that one on the Men's Adventure Quarterly Western thing for June on the Range, and towards the end of the video, I was telling Nick about that. I nudged that stupid tripod next to me, and the camera's going whoa. But it was right as I was wrapping up the video, and I'm like, damn it! But I left it in there. I know I should. I'm not the perfectionist that some of these guys are. Maybe I should be, but
Yeah, I just got now. I got like a $20 tripod that sits on my desk and it just sits on my computer desk, now right here next to my PC. And I have my little bookshelves in the back and I just filled. It's
wow.
a lot of
And so
people
you
make
could also turn it up so it's facing you. So like when you did your standing up PSA thing, you could have it just facing
that.
straight, right?
I just pulled out the legs and extended it from a foot tall to 4 foot tall and stood it up. And my wife stood behind the camera helping me out. So
That's cool.
well,
Yeah, well, I heard her voice there a little while ago. Is she filming you now, or did she just pop in to see if you were doing okay?
just heard me say that how sarcastic I was, and she wanted to come in and make sure
I
everybody knew. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
we
Wives
we've
will be
been
wives.
we've been together 35 years and she knows me better than anyone and she's still here and I don't know why.
Well, she obviously is fine with your sarcasm as long as it's not pointed at her too often, probably. But
She's absolutely amazing. 35 years together, putting up with my nonsense and she's still stunningly beautiful and just an amazing person. And like any marriage, you have your struggles, and get at each other because you're been know each other so well. But it's just she's my biggest supporter, and I'm just glad she's around.
well, that's great to hear. Yeah, yeah. My wife's pretty cool too. She doesn't complain about. She sometimes will playfully roll her eyes and say more junk, but she never makes a big deal about it. So more boxes coming in. Um, I wanted to, so besides getting under the camera for the first time, what are some other challenges you might have faced in making these videos? Anything else that gave you problems or gave you pause or that you've had to have workarounds for?
Oh, all of it. Because I didn't have, when I started, I had nothing to go by. I kind of just, winged it, and learning how to use editing software, which I'm still learning a lot every day. But learning what I needed, and I'm every single day I'm still learning. Like I said, I'm just using an Android phone, so everything I do is kind of a challenge, but I do that to myself. It can be as easy as you want it to be, like Steve Donahue does, where he just sits there, turns on the camera, no editing, and uploads it. If you're
Most people
elevating,
aren't quite as good at have the gift of the gab that Steve Donahue has, you know.
right, exactly. I mean, he could do. I've seen him do 7 videos in a day, and he just films and then uploads it. I can't. I have, brain freezes. I don't know how he does it at his age. I mean, I'm, probably a couple decades younger than him, and I lose complete focus and have no idea what I'm talking about, and sit there and stare at the camera. It's like, what the hell was I talking about? And, so I have to edit. I don't know how he does it, but you can make it that
Some
simple.
people are that way. I'm sure your buddy that you talked about is maybe like that. I had a good buddy that he could just talk at length at any subject, and he loved to be, a raconteur to whoever was listening. So I think Steve has a lot of that. But and some people are pretty good at doing that. But I think, like you said, many of us, something happens when that mic goes on and the recording's going on, and you had all these things. I come to end of recording of videos and I go, man, I meant to say this and I meant to say that. I'm not going to
There,
record it again, but it is what it is. But so, and umming and awing, and I laughed at how Jake would always go on his camera, to kind of make fun of himself. He put the words up there and stuff. But when I sometimes go through to try to fix haven't done it recently, but fix my subtitles, the YouTube uh, subtitling is pretty good, but there's some mistakes on there. And then I go, man, did I make that many uhs and that many does and that many repeated words? Wow, so
I haven't even checked the subtitles. I haven't even
yeah.
checked.
Right, but it's probably not a big deal. But I noticed that about a quarter, 25% or so seem to be using the subtitles, the closed captioning on my videos. I've noticed. So I was making more of an effort. I haven't been too busy recently to do it, but I'm gonna try to go back and correct some of those past ones. Not that probably many of my older videos are being watched so often, but some still get some views. Weeks later or months later. So that's good. I think that trying to have some evergreen content is good, so um, and that's most of what you're putting on your channel is stuff that can be, reviews of certain things can be checked out any old time, right? So
Right. Yeah.
um
Yeah. I'm trying to do some of
sorry,
those.
I might have interrupted you. Is anything else besides the editing that was troublesome
Oh,
for you?
like you said, like we've talked about how hard it was for me to get in front of the camera, my insecurity with that. But that's something I'm working on. It's still a problem. I'm still nervous, and especially now, sitting here with wounds all over my face from my accident. My
I
little.
can't see a man. I'm sorry. My eyes might be bad, but I can't see a thing. You look fine to
Oh,
me. So
I I have a half feral cat that doesn't belong to me living in my basement, and I was trying to catch him, and he went behind all my building supplies, and it
that's
fell
when the
on.
thing fell on you.
Yeah, I got these gashes across my
You
face.
mentioned that on your recent video, but I'm like, I can't see anything, dude. I don't know. Did your wife do a makeup job on you or something? But because you looked fine, but
Yeah, that's
you know,
good. I'm hoping. But
we're always our own worst critic, right? So I think I
yeah,
watched the video. No one probably noticed it, but was wearing a black shirt and there was like some fluff on it or something. Like, man, why didn't I check the mirror and get rid of that damn piece of fuzz that's on my shirt the whole video? But probably nobody else noticed it than us, right?
I
So
have 3 huskies. I have fur on me constantly, and after I make the video, I go back and look at it. I notice it. It's like I can't reshoot because there's fur all over my arm. So
we're gonna think it's your beard hair, man. Don't worry.
same color as my dog.
Well, I wanted to ask a couple other things before we wrap up. I think like me, I don't think you rate books, but what's your criteria for when you review books as far as thumbs up, thumbs down? What are your kind of guiding principles for whether you're going to recommend a book or not? Or are you mostly only going to record? I mean, I know you trashed what was that one that you went through like three from the same author? I'm trying to remember the
Oh,
author's name.
my Ron Goulart video.
That's right, Ron Goulart. Yeah, it was really funny to watch, even though someone got enjoyment out of your pain, but and suffering. But um, are you just a kind of thumbs up, thumbs down sort of guy? Do you? Because I know some people like Brian at Bad Taste Books and some others they give ranking ratings of like to 5 or whatever. Do you what? How do you have a kind of system in place
Okay,
for that?
sort of. It depends. So, like on the ink and ammo stuff, I have a rating system, and if you saw it, I like a
No.
name,
Yeah. That's
and that
right.
continue when I expand that into the hard boiled bookshelf for ink and ammo. There's a separate. There'll be a new ranking system with the labels and titles for them.
Right.
Most of the time, it depends on the book and how I feel at the moment. I kind of just go with it. Um, and you can tell by what I say where I stand on the book. I don't always use a
Sure.
number. Depends on my mood. Like I said, a lot of my channel is just off feel. So a lot of times I'll just, either trash a book and it doesn't need a rating because it's rather clear, or I'll talk, effusively about it and it's clear. But yeah, so it depends on the book. Like I have a book review I'm about to do that um it may be fun to watch because it's going to be miserable for
Oh,
me.
you're gonna bring the chainsaw out and hack into it, huh?
Yeah, and I have like 6 reviews lined up, and I'm trying to keep them all in my head and get them filmed because I don't have a lot of time to do it. So much going on, and I want to get them done because I want to share them. But I can't really read, along the same lines because if I do try to do, I can't fit anymore in my head to remember those books to do, so I can review them. So I got to get those out. But yeah, I have some
So
stuff
you
coming.
don't like write any scripts or anything down or any notes? Do you have notes or do you just have real simple outline?
Depends on the video. I mean, like I said, everything I do is just I'm winging it. So sometimes I just talk. Other times I have notes. I try to write a script, but I can't really read a script and shoot and be like,
No.
I'd like to be able to hold it up and just read off of it because I'm much more elegant. I'm much more elegant when I read. When I write stuff down and read it off, than I am, when I talk
But it
off
does,
top.
you're right, it does make it seem too rehearsed or too flat or something, right?
Yeah, but my writing would be much more intelligent and much more deep if I could, get
Right.
reviews on what I wrote. So maybe I should just do it in a blog and stop this, YouTube stuff.
Nick, the book Graveyard gave me a good tip. He takes his notes and he tapes it under his microphone, I mean under his phone, and I've been doing that recently so I can check dates because I'll say when this book, and instead of me having my head facing the camera while I look at the damn contents page or the where the find the publication date or whatever. If I have some of that out ahead of time, uh, and I can just look real quick, it doesn't look quite as bad if I'm looking at the camera. It's kind of so some of those tricks or things we'll get better at, I guess. But I don't
And
know.
I
I
found
think if you're too reading from a script too much, some people are really good at it, but some
yeah.
people it's obvious they're reading from a script, and I don't want to be that way. So
And I'll tell you a secret why I can't do that trick. Because I am extremely nearsighted. So if I taped it, I would never be able to see anything. So I have to wear glasses to like drive or like watch movies or TV. But when I'm reading or other things, I can't wear them because I can't see anything. So it's 2 different things I'm trying to do, and I
because
probably
it's close up, you can see okay. Okay,
yeah.
yeah, I'm kind of that way too. But I wear contacts, but my vision is not great. I probably have some cataracts coming in. That's in my mom, my grandma, my aunts, uncles. They all have cataracts, so that's part of it. But I can see okay. But if I write or type out fairly big, but yeah, that's a problem too. If I can't have it way across over here or something, like if I put my PC up next to my camera, I'd be like, so that's not a good look.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, I think there's something, if we could have somewhere between a Steve Donahue and complete, sort of video, then we're okay, as long as the editing is helpful there to snip. But well, I wanted to ask you also.
I need a
Sorry,
I need a teleprompter.
teleprompter. Yeah. Well, I think some people buy that stuff and use it, but or use on their computer or something. But then I don't know. I guess that's another skill that you learn at where you get it better at not making it look like you're reading. I wanted to ask you because you do some really fun book hauls. Do you have some favorite bookstores in your area that you like to frequent?
Yeah, I did. I have mentioned them. I have a bookstore here that's on Monroe Avenue in Rochester, New York, called Rick's Recycled Books. I've been going to him off and on for years. He's my main haunt. He's a good guy. His store is one of those classic used bookstores where there's every single time I go in there and start looking for books, stacks of books fall on me. And it's like, it's one of those things where it's just, there's so many books in there that they don't even fit in the shelves anymore. So
Oh,
yeah,
it's just on the floor and on the corners and in boxes that he hasn't put out or whatever. Yeah, I like those kind of stores.
that's my main store. And then I go to a Small World, Oxcart Books. It's two stores in one that I pick up some stuff, and on occasion Bookends in Henrietta. But those are my main places other than shopping on, YouTube, or yeah, YouTube, on Amazon or
Probably for the
eBay.
newer stuff you're talking about, it's Amazon or eBay, probably, right?
Well, I find a lot of the books I'm looking for, I have to go through like eBay or Abe Books or something, or Alibri or whatever it's called, to find stuff. And Amazon actually has several used book dealers. So I've just learned you stay away from like half price books or the thrift stores, because I get nothing but bad luck ordering from them.
I've heard
But
about thrift books, yeah, from enough horror stories about those. Yeah.
yeah, I found some stuff that's just scary. I've gotten a book from one of those stores that was considered very good condition, and like literally core parts of it were eaten off, and it was covered in mold. I couldn't even take it out of the bag. As soon as you opened it, the smell was just horrendous.
Oh,
So you got to be careful with online shopping. I have horror stories. Yeah,
yeah, that's a bummer. I haven't usually bought books from eBay before. This book haul that I did recently was the first time I got most of those through eBay, and I'm pretty happy with this particular crop. But they were probably a little priced higher than I would have liked, I suppose. But some of them were overall they were in pretty good condition, so I was pleased with that. But I know I'm going to get bitten here before too long with that, and with the added expense of having it shipped to my family's home and then over here, that's unfortunate if that happens. But I'm trying to because a lot of that stuff won't ship to internationally, or maybe from the States to Canada or vice versa. But over to Japan, it's a harder ask. So
I've had to ship my order books from Canada and UK before, and the shipping costs as much as the books. And I tried
yeah,
to ship some books to Jim over at Mystery and Mayhem, and it was the same size box that I sent to Jake 2,000 miles away in Texas for $7 was $48 to ship it one third the distance from me.
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah, I know when I haven't ordered books from Australia, but I've ordered some Blu-rays and DVDs from Australia, and their shipping is it's 30 Australian, even just to send one DVD. Now, compared to American dollars, it's not as high, but it's around $20. And if you're buying something that's $30 and it's the price is the same as the shipping price is the same as the item you're buying, especially with books, it just doesn't compute. So it's hard
Yeah,
to do. I also wanted to ask, because you're uh, like you read all kinds of genres. Are you a guy who does a TBR? Are you a mood reader? How do you choose your books
I
that you
create
read?
it and then I break it and read what I feel like. I mean, I try to get a happy medium. I try to cover as much of my TBR that I chose as possible, but I have the urge, like, oh, I really, really want to read that, and I tend to like pull things out and kind of push down some of my TBR sometimes. So it's a combination of things. I have a well-intended TBR that gets interrupted by stuff that I feel like reading.
Yeah, well, I know some people are like Criminali or some other people that are doing because I've been doing some of these BookTube events, like you know PI July or June on the Range or Horror Mayhem. Those have been really fun, but I can't make a too strict TBR that some of those guys have them read this and this and this and this. I'm enough of a mood reader where I try not to sabotage myself by saying I'm going to read all of these and then I don't, and then people are like, "Oh, you said you're going to read that," So
Yeah, for me, books are like junk food. I plan out a good meal, but I can't help but reach for that off the shelf.
it's calling my name, man. It's like that
Yeah,
pack of Oreos in there.
yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Well, I want to ask because you can read there during your auditing shift part of the time, it sounds like. So what's your average weekly amount of what you're reading? I know it's going to depend on how big the book is, etc. But what's your average weekly average, do you think? Because it sounds like it's pretty high.
On average, I finish 2 books a week,
Okay.
but I could do better as far as page count. I could. I average more than 100 pages a day, so go through the year. So it's hard to say because I don't really get to. I read most of my reading is Monday through Thursday night. Friday nights are a little harder. Weekends I spend with my wife and do running errands and stuff. And so I base most of my readings over 4 days of the week, and then I get little bits over the other 3. So
Well, still a 2 book a week average. I mean, hearing that uh I was watching one of the older Ebes or whatever recently. I think their Christmas one, and Jake was talking, and I've heard this from other booktubers, Steve Donahue probably also, that what is it, 3/4 of Americans or something like that don't even read 1 book a year. So I mean, the fact that you're reading 8 a month, or it's going to push you at about 100 a year, is pretty incredible. So
yeah, actually, over the course of a year, I average about 150 total. Is my goal.
150. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, no. According, I've seen those numbers, and according to that, my wife would be in the top 1% of all readers, and I would be in the top point
Point
zero
zero
one
zero one or
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
that's done. And I'm glad to finally be in the top of some list. It isn't
Something.
mostly
Yeah.
when I'm in those top of a list. It's like, oh man, I'm in trouble.
No, I think that's great. I will say that the getting back into reading towards I think last year I kind of ramped up some. I mean, I have read, probably 10 to 20 books a year for several years there. And then recently I'm like last year, I think I was at 28 or something. So this year so far, I'm like at 35. So BookTube's been pushing me to read more. And I'm not a slow reader, but I'm a very spotty time reader. So like I'll read a whole bunch on the train going, because I have some nights I have like a 90-minute commute one way
Yeah,
when I go out to another university. So I can really sit on the train and concentrate and get some reading done. But with my son and a family and work issues, and some of it, of course, is me doing things I should maybe be reading during that time. But there's no real excuse, as people booktubers have pointed out. But if I'm going to be, I might get to 60 this year at the end of the year, and I'll be pretty dang happy with it. So um, I'm impressed. 100, 150. That's a good chunk.
yeah, 100, about 150 a year. I've been averaging over the last several years, and a lot of that started when I was watching YouTubers. Because what happened was I was seeing so many books that I wanted to read that I would make more of a concerted effort. And along that same timeline, I also stopped watching TV as much. I stopped playing video games. I consciously made an effort to put my phone down, and
Right.
it increased my reading by threefold. Literally,
Right.
no. And even when I do watch TV, like sports is what I'll watch mostly, football, hockey, and during breaks, I have a book there, and I will read a couple pages during halftime or commercials
Right.
or whatever that is, and it all adds up.
Yeah. Like, yeah, there's all that time. And then again, everything has to be sacrificed. Something has to give out of 24 hours to make room for something else. So my TV and movie watching has dropped away in lieu of reading more this year. So,
Yeah,
but I've watched so much of my collection over the past couple of years of that I want to get back into more of my books. So it's working out well because I need content I need more stuff to read to provide content, and also I just want to read more anyway. So I wanted to let's see, what else did I want to ask you before we went here? Um, oh, yeah, this is a good one. If you could only choose one genre of book to take with you to a desert island, which one would it be? If you had to be pinned down, gun to your head to pick one, what do you think it would be?
One genre? Oh wow.
You could have different subgenres in that genre, but what like major genre would it be? Fantasy, science fiction, horror, crime, adventure, like that. What would you pick?
Well,
History.
now here's the thing. I'm going to be practical about this. If I was going to be one genre and I was going to be on a desert island, I'd say fantasy because they're so
Yeah,
huge and there's so many editions that I would have more
that's true.
reading.
Yeah,
So
that's
that
very true. Because this is fantasy. I could take this. Yeah.
they're all 1,000 pages, and some of them are like 14
That's
books, and
true.
so
Well,
that
let's take the desert island scenario out of it and just say if you were put in a room in a library and say, okay, go wild. Where are you going to go first? Which stack are you going to go to first?
oh boy, that is a harder question than with me.
You're spinning
Uh,
around like, oh, oh.
yeah, because I mean, by nature, I kind of would probably just head to the science fiction first, probably. But that's because that's not necessarily that would be the first thing I'd read, but it'd be the first place I'd go look. Like I said, I read across like almost every genre. I don't read mainstream, um, New York Times bestsellers. I don't read stuff that
Yeah.
Oprah or Reese recommend. I have found that anything that is recommended by popular people and is considered the best book of the year sucks. I
Hmm.
mean, I have a hatred for James Patterson that I have not expressed on this channel yet, and someday will.
Just now.
Someday on my channel, I will probably lose it talking about James Patterson because I cannot understand what anybody sees in him. And I look at some of these ratings on Goodreads and think, do you not understand how books work?
Well, if
And
the people are reading, the average American is reading one or two beach reads a year. I mean, there's a place for beach reads, but I'd be rather reading, a Tarzan novel or something than Patterson. I mean, there's other authors like this that just I wonder how are they even getting published, frankly. And then there's others like oh, who's the guy who writes? I'm having old man brain fart time too. The guy who writes the Agent Pendergrass stuff, Relic, and
Preston and
Preston Child, Douglas Preston, and not
Lincoln
Lincoln Child,
Child.
is it? Yeah,
Lincoln Child.
yeah. Some of those are pretty good,
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, I read Relic, the first book in that series, way back, and it actually is really good. And I saw the movie too, and I think I saw the movie first. And was
yeah, I didn't
interested.
think the movie was that good, but the book looks pretty cool. I read the fourth one. There's one about some guy who mutated growing up in a cave that's killing people in ritualistic storybook fashion or something. It's like number 4 or whatever. I read that at the end of earlier this year or end of last year, and it was really, really a good page turner. It's not Shakespeare, but most of what I read isn't.
Well, I
So
read
some of
Shakespeare.
those, yeah,
I
nothing
do.
wrong with Shakespeare. I read him in school and stuff, but yeah, I need to read more classics. That's kind of my weakness probably because but I read some ones that how much I hated them traumatized me in college. John Updike, Rabbit Run. I was like, and reading that thing. So I'm with you 100% on avoiding the bestsellers or the book club stuff that's talked about most of the time and that's on the table being
The,
shown as you walk into a Barnes and Noble or whatever.
the book talk table they now have, walk right past that.
Well, I think it's great that a lot of women writers are out there and women are reading a lot of stuff and go good on them, right? Go enjoy it. But I do feel like men are being underserved in the Barnes and Noble sphere. It's in the modern publishing world,
You
and
did. You might have heard me talk about them. That's I wanted. And the thing
you
is
did.
that
I don't want. I hate to sound sexist about it because I don't mean it that way, but you know what I mean, right?
no,
There's
and the thing is that there are a lot of women out there who don't want that either. Who
right.
they feel like that's all that they have, and they're supposed to be reading it, and they're kind of almost told that. But they don't want to read that. They don't want to be served the same carbon copy, hack writing that that's popular just because they're a woman. They shouldn't have to. And I'm directing some of that at them too, hoping that I give them something else to read, so they don't have to read Sarah J. Maas or Sherilyn Kenyon or, oh God, Fourth Wing 2 or
Well, I
Twilight.
would imagine that like that the Night Witches thing would be really interesting to a lot of women. Who usually they're turned off by war stuff, but to see that the role that these Russian women played in it would seem like something that a lot of women respond to, right? So
Yeah, and like I said, I also pointed out the old women snipers that took place in
right.
during Eastern Front too. That women played a big role in Russia because they lost, in the Eastern Front, because they lost so many people. They
Oh
had to.
man, that's
Like,
unbelievable.
numbers, often argued, but some say 25 million, some say 27 million, but that's an incredible amount of lives to lose, in a war to fight fascism. So
Yeah, no, I think that's the one thing, did you have a chance to watch Nick's Weird Tales video where he read the letters?
yeah, I
And
watched it.
more than half of them were from women. I was really surprised. The women reading this stuff back in the day that you wouldn't think they would be touching with the barge pole, but they were ardent supporters of this weird fiction, So
Yeah, my wife's one of those throwbacks. She does not read that, that romantic-y crap. She's a big horror fan from way back, and she loves horror movies. You want to say hi? So my wife's here. She can say hi to you.
Hi, how are you?
hi, how are you?
Good,
Nice to meet you. I'm Jeff.
mother.
Yeah, so she reads the horror and stuff too. So it's I try to direct stuff towards something that people like her would enjoy. So
Yeah, I like the horror and the supernatural, stuff like that.
That's cool. I know there's a lot of ladies out there like that. So, and they're maybe being underserved too, like you say, in the marketplace right now.
she
Of,
watches action movies with me and everything. So
I love the superheroes, and the psychological thrillers and stuff like that. I do not like the romance. There's been a couple of series that I've been really into, is the supernatural and magic and stuff like that. And it starts off really great, girl power and all that. And then it takes a really down turn where they're sleeping with
soap
this,
opera time. Yeah.
and it's the end of the world type battle, and they got to stop saving the world to go, off in the
Hash
corner.
out a relationship problem or something. Yeah. Yes.
And it's
I
like
understand.
out of the moment of the story.
Yeah. Well, you got to keep her there, seems like there, Paul. So that's good. Yeah. That's great. Well,
Could be a romance fan.
well, I have no problems with romance if it's well written into the other stuff where it's a part of the book, but it's not the focus, right? So,
yeah, but they're not writing Wuthering Heights. They're writing smut.
But
right.
and speaking of, it's one of my favorite stories is Wuthering Heights.
Yeah, or Pride and Prejudice, right? That's a great book, So, and Jane Austen stuff in general has a lot to offer other than the romance is part of it, but it's not the whole thing. Yeah, like you say, it's not 50 Shades of crap or whatever, right? So,
Twilight.
not that there's Twilight, not that there's anything wrong with that in its place, but yeah. Well, did you have? Thank you very much. It's lovely to meet you. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
You already talked about this a bit, but are there any on your own channel? But are there any plans or videos coming up you want to pimp to kind of highlight or anything?
Yeah, and I spent all day shooting this video and then had to trash it because a bunch of reasons. But
Oh
so
man,
I'm going to start, keep segmenting, putting on segments for my channel. And what I have coming up, when I'm doing horror bound in red, so I'm going to make sure I highlight horror every month, and sci-fidelity, which will make sure I put a science fiction on my channel every month. And I'm going to do a werewolf project.
nice.
So
So
I'm
sorry,
going to
sci-fi Galady.
Sci-fidelity.
Sci-fidelity. Ah, I got you. Okay, good.
I want
Werewolf
to make
Project.
sure
Cool.
I have a bunch of werewolves are my favorite monsters. I want to. I have a bunch of werewolf books and realize I haven't read them, and I keep hearing about. Everybody talks about how bad werewolf books are compared to others because they're such a visual creature. I'm going to deep dive and try to read a werewolf book at least once a month and review it and try. I have dozens, so I'm going to go through and every month I'm going to try and put up a
That's a
werewolf
cool
video.
project. That's a cool
Along,
project.
yeah,
Werewolves are of the classic monsters. Werewolves are among my favorites too. But and there's some good werewolf movies, but
yeah.
the books may be a little harder to find. Yeah, so I'll be interested to see your findings as you get through these.
Yeah, and the funny thing is I had an exchange with Virgil where we were talking about real quick about werewolves, and I decided to do that project. And 2 days later, Andrea over at Infinite Text announced she was doing a vampire project, and I was like, oh, and she's like, no, go ahead, do it. Do your thing. That's fine. And I want to be able to. If anybody else wants to do these, where they play off of other monsters that they're fans of and have books of, I would love to play off each other and talk about these things. And even if you're a beginning YouTuber and you want to start, and contact me, and we can talk about these monster books back. I'm all for it. Let's put it out there. Let's get all those monsters, mummies and zombies and creatures of all type. Let's get those books out there and talk about them.
Well, I think you open the door for zombies. Watch out. That's going to be a full-on one.
There's so many zombie books you couldn't cover a fraction of them in a lifetime.
I'm a little zombied out to be frank, although I do like some of the zombie stories and stuff that I've seen. But
I'd like to find somebody who could do mummies, because I don't know a lot of mummy books, and I'd love to see what was out there.
Yeah, I read some out of that mummy anthology that I did during the Horror Mayhem, and the guys from Check Your Shelf were like, "Wow, there's a mummy anthology, great!" Because they're harder to find, that's for sure. Yeah, I guess takes a lot more research for Egyptology to make it sound convincing, I suppose. But that sounds really cool. What are you gonna do with Wolfen? Because that's a hard one, because they're kind of supernatural wolves rather than werewolves. So
because I love the movie and I have the book. And it's not just werewolves. I want to do all kinds of were creatures. I love them all. I mean, I'm looking for a were shark book.
There's got to be one, man. There's got to be one.
Yeah, there's a were shark in Pathfinder game. I'm not assuming somewhere out there is, but I have a were bear book. I have a were saber-tooth cat book. They'll all be included, and I want to do that. So I'll have my regular horror that I'm going to start featuring more and more alongside the Werewolf Project, and a sci-fi feature every month alongside my action adventure stuff. I want to use that to base my channel around those pillars.
That sounds great, man. Well, all right. Well, I really look forward to what's coming up on your channel, and it's nice to see it blossoming and more content coming out, and hopefully we'll get a lot more viewers. I think you will for sure. And I appreciate you taking the time to come on today and talk about books, man, and BookTube. Thanks very much.
I love it. I'll anybody wants to talk to me, that's what I want. I love talking about books. I'm glad to come on and talk to you, Jeff. We've been conversing since our channel started, pretty much, through comments and stuff. So it's a nice to get the chance to talk to you face to face, so to speak.
For sure, man. Thanks a bunch, and see you around the tube, man. Okay. Cheers.
Have a good one.